They thought she was just another shy, quiet new girl, someone they could push around without consequences. But when the bullies snatched her backpack and dumped it into the filthy trash behind the school, they unknowingly poked the wrong person. Because the girl they mocked had fists that had knocked out champions in rings far bigger than this, and she wasn't about to let this fight slide. What happened next would change the school forever. The first day at a new school is never easy, and for Lena Torres it was no different. She walked through the crowded hallway clutching her worn leather backpack, the one thing she'd carried through 3 cities and 2 countries. Her family had moved here for a fresh start, as her mother called it, but Lena already knew how these things went. New kid, no friends, the stares, the whispers, the tests, the cruel kind, given not by teachers but by students who fed on weakness. She kept her head low, pretending not to hear the snickering behind her, but she felt it, that prickling sensation that told her she was being watched. Jake Miller and his gang of troublemakers leaned against the lockers like they owned the place. They were the kind of boys who wore their trouble like a badge of honor, daring anyone to cross them. And today, their eyes were locked on Lena. "Hey, new girl," Jake called, stepping into her path. "What's in the bag? Your diary, or maybe lunch money?" Lena didn't stop walking. "None of your business." Jake grinned like a wolf spotting prey. "Oh, so you do have something to hide." Before she could react, he snatched the backpack from her shoulder. "Give it back," Lena's voice was sharp, but Jake only laughed, tossing it to one of his friends. They played a cruel game of catch, the backpack flying just out of Lena's reach every time she lunged for it. She tried to grab it, but they were faster, or so they thought. "Careful," Jake teased. "You don't want your precious stuff ending up in the trash." And with that, he hurled it into the dented metal bin behind the gym. The slam of the lid echoed like a final insult. The boys laughed, walking away as if the matter was settled. But Lena stood there, fists clenched, staring at the bin. In her mind, she wasn't standing behind a school anymore. She was in a boxing ring, the crowd roaring, her opponent smirking, just like Jake. And she knew exactly how to deal with smirks like his. She retrieved her backpack slowly, brushing off the dirt. She didn't chase them, didn't yell. That would come later. For now, she simply memorized the way Jake's laugh sounded, a laugh she was going to make stop. By the end of the first week, Lena had learned 2 things about this school. Bullies ruled the hallways, and nobody ever fought back. Fear kept everyone in line, and Jake made sure of it, but Lena wasn't built to stay quiet. She had kept her secret carefully guarded. No one here knew who she was outside of these walls. They didn't know about the years of training in dimly lit gyms, the 5 a.m. roadwork, the endless hours pounding a heavy bag until her knuckles throbbed. They didn't know she was the youngest national junior boxing champion in the state she just left. But that secret was about to come out. It happened during gym class. The coach had set up a small boxing demonstration for self-defense week, asking for volunteers to try a few light sparring drills. Most students laughed it off, except Jake, who saw it as another opportunity to show off. "I'll go," he said, glancing at Lena with a smirk. "Hey, new girl, why don't you try? We can see if you can even throw a punch." The class chuckled, expecting her to blush and decline. Instead, Lena stepped forward, tying her hair back into a tight ponytail. The coach handed them gloves and reminded them it was just for fun, no hard hits. Jake nodded, but his grin told a different story. The moment the whistle blew, Jake swung a lazy jab, and Lena slipped it effortlessly, her body moving with the grace of someone who had done this 1,000 times. She countered with a quick, precise combination, jab, cross, hook, not hard enough to hurt, but fast enough to snap Jake's headgear sideways and his ego clean in half. The room went silent. The coach's eyebrows shot up. What was that?" Jake stammered. Lena pulled off her gloves. "That," she said calmly, "was me going easy." Word spread like wildfire. By lunch, everyone knew the quiet new girl had just embarrassed Jake Miller in front of the entire gym class. By the next day, they'd learned she was a real boxer, not just some lucky rookie, but a fighter with a record. Jake didn't laugh when he passed her in the hall anymore. In fact, he didn't look her in the eye at all. But Lena wasn't interested in revenge anymore. She made her point. Bullies only had power until someone stood up and hit back. And in Lena's case, she'd been standing up her whole life.